Michael Kirk Douglas was born on September 25, 1944 in New Brunswick, New Jersey, into one of Hollywood's most famous acting families. He was the eldest son of legendary actor Kirk Douglas and actress Diana Dill. From the very beginning, Michael's life was steeped in the world of cinema. Though his childhood was not as glamorous as one might expect, his parents divorced when he was just 6 years old, and Michael split his time between living with his mother in New York and visiting his father in Los Angeles. While Kirk Douglas's fame gave Michael an early awareness of the entertainment industry, it also created challenges, expectations to live up to a towering legacy, and the pressure to succeed in his own right. Michael attended the Choate School, now Choate Rosemary Hall, a prestigious prep school in Connecticut, before enrolling at the University of California, Santa Barbara, where he studied drama. Unlike his father, who had fought his way into Hollywood through sheer grit, Michael's path seemed more open, but he was determined to earn success on his own merits rather than simply ride the coattails of the Douglas name. During his college years, he participated in student productions, sharpening his acting skills and developing an interest not only in performing, but also in the broader aspects of filmmaking. After graduating in 1968, Douglas studied at the American Place Theater in New York, where he learned the craft in a professional setting. He began landing small guest roles on television shows such as The FBI and Medical Center. These early appearances did not bring instant stardom, but they provided valuable experience in front of the camera and helped him build the discipline needed for a long career. His breakthrough came in 1972, when he was cast as Inspector Steve Keller in the hit television series The Streets of San Francisco, opposite veteran actor Karl Malden. The role was a turning point, giving Douglas national recognition and a platform to develop his screen presence. The show ran for 5 seasons, during which Michael earned 3 consecutive Emmy Award nominations and gained a reputation for professionalism and charisma. However, Douglas was not content to remain solely an actor. During his time on the streets of San Francisco, he began exploring producing opportunities, inspired partly by his father's entrepreneurial spirit. His biggest early success as a producer came in 1975, when he acquired the rights to Ken Kesey's novel, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. His father had tried for years to get the story adapted, but had been unable to secure financing. Michael took on the project with a young director named Milos Forman, and the film became a landmark in American cinema. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest went on to win 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, making Douglas, still in his early 30s, an Oscar-winning producer before he had even fully established himself as a movie star. This achievement marked Michael Douglas as more than just the son of a Hollywood legend. It showed he had a sharp eye for powerful stories and the ambition to bring them to life. By the late 1970s, he was ready to leave television behind and focus on building a career in film, both as an actor and a producer. This combination of talents would become his signature, bridging the worlds of performance and production in a way that few actors of his generation managed to achieve. Michael's early career was defined by this dual focus, as well as his determination to prove himself. While he had the advantage of a famous last name, he made deliberate choices to step out of his father's shadow. In doing so, he set the foundation for a career that would eventually span decades, encompass some of the most iconic roles in modern film, and make him one of Hollywood's most respected and versatile figures. By the early 1980s, Michael Douglas had firmly established himself as both a capable actor and an accomplished producer. Yet it was in this decade and the following one that he would reach the true height of his career, transforming from a respected television and film performer into one of Hollywood's most bankable and intriguing leading men. Douglas entered this period with a clear understanding of the kind of roles he wanted: complex, morally ambiguous characters that challenged both audiences and himself. This decision would shape the string of iconic performances that defined his prime years. His transition into full-fledged movie stardom began with Romancing the Stone, 1984, a romantic adventure co-starring Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito. Not only did Douglas star in the film, but he also served as a producer, further cementing his dual identity in the industry. The movie's blend of humor, romance, and action was a commercial and critical success, proving Douglas could carry a major blockbuster and appeal to a wide audience. The film's success spawned a sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, 1985, which, while not as universally acclaimed, reinforced Douglas's image as a charismatic, adventurous leading man. But his true ascent into the upper echelon of Hollywood came with a series of provocative dramas and thrillers that pushed boundaries and challenged societal norms. In 1987, he delivered one of his most unforgettable performances in Fatal Attraction, opposite Glenn Close. The film became a cultural phenomenon, sparking conversations about infidelity, obsession, and the dangers of casual affairs. Douglas's portrayal of Dan Gallagher, a man whose life spirals out of control after a brief liaison, was both sympathetic and deeply flawed, a balance he mastered throughout his career. Fatal Attraction grossed over $300 million worldwide and earned 6 Academy Award nominations, instantly elevating Douglas to the status of a global star. The same year, he took on the role that would win him the Academy Award for Best Actor, Gordon Gekko in Oliver Stone's Wall Street. With his slicked-back hair, custom-tailored suits, and the now legendary mantra, "Greed is good," Douglas embodied the excess and moral decay of the 1980s financial world. Gekko was magnetic yet morally bankrupt, a character who became a cultural symbol for corporate ruthlessness. Douglas's performance was universally praised for its sparse charisma and chilling authenticity, cementing his place among the greatest actors of his generation. The late 1980s and early 1990s saw Douglas take risks with daring material that often blurred the line between hero and anti-hero. In Black Rain, 1989, directed by Ridley Scott, he played a gritty New York cop entangled in the dangerous underworld of Japanese organized crime. The following year, in The War of the Roses, 1989, he reunited with Kathleen Turner for a darkly comedic portrayal of a marriage unraveling in spectacularly destructive fashion. His ability to move effortlessly between genres, romance, drama, thriller, and black comedy, made him one of the most versatile actors working at the time. In 1992, Douglas took on one of his most controversial and talked-about roles in Basic Instinct, opposite Sharon Stone. The neo-noir erotic thriller was a box-office sensation and a lightning rod for debates about sexuality, violence, and censorship in Hollywood. Douglas's portrayal of Detective Nick Curran, a flawed investigator drawn into a web of seduction and murder, was intense, layered, and emblematic of his willingness to embrace morally ambiguous leads. He continued to dominate the decade with standout performances in Falling Down, 1993, where he played William Foster, an ordinary man pushed to the edge by the pressures and frustrations of modern life. The role was a sharp commentary on societal discontent and further demonstrated Douglas's skill at playing characters who are both relatable and unsettling. This was followed by Disclosure, 1994, opposite Demi Moore, which tackled the then taboo topic of sexual harassment from a male victim's perspective. By the mid to late 1990s, Douglas was not only a box office draw, but also a symbol of a certain kind of Hollywood masculinity, intelligent, flawed, driven, and dangerously charming. Films like The American President, 1995, showcased his softer, romantic side, while The Game, 1997, directed by David Fincher, plunged him into psychological suspense. He closed the decade with A Perfect Murder, 1998, another Hitchcock-inspired thriller that played to his strengths in tension and moral complexity. During these peak years, Douglas maintained a remarkable ability to balance mainstream appeal with daring choices, keeping audiences engaged and critics impressed. He was not content to be typecast. Instead, he constantly sought roles that pushed boundaries and sparked conversation. This period solidified his status as one of the defining actors of late 20th century American cinema, a star whose name could guarantee both critical attention and commercial success. Despite the glamour and success that defined Michael Douglas's peak years, his journey through Hollywood was far from without turbulence. As with many of the industry's most enduring figures, the spotlight often magnified personal struggles, public disputes, and deeply private pain. For Douglas, the challenges that emerged during and after his professional zenith tested his resilience, both as an actor and as a man. One of the earliest and most persistent sources of speculation during his career was his reputation for playing morally conflicted, often sexually charged characters. Roles in Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, and Disclosure brought him acclaim, but they also drew criticism from some cultural commentators who accused him of perpetuating a certain archetype of toxic masculinity. While Douglas often defended these roles as explorations of flawed human behavior, the lines between character and actor sometimes blurred in the public imagination, leading to gossip and unfounded rumors about his personal life. The 1990s also brought a more personal kind of scrutiny. Douglas, who had married Diandra Luker in 1977, saw his marriage come under strain. Their eventual separation in 1995 and lengthy divorce proceedings became tabloid fodder, not only because of Douglas's celebrity status, but also due to the reported settlement, which was among the largest in Hollywood history at the time. The breakdown of the marriage was played out in headlines, a reality Douglas later admitted was emotionally exhausting and a reminder of the cost of fame. During this period, Douglas also faced challenges with his own well-being. In 1992, he checked into a rehabilitation facility, a move that sparked rumors about substance abuse. While Douglas was initially private about the details, he later spoke candidly about seeking treatment for alcohol-related issues and the pressures of maintaining both a career and personal life under constant scrutiny. This willingness to address his struggles head-on eventually became part of his public narrative. He was not a star pretending to be invincible, but a man confronting his flaws. The new millennium brought fresh trials. In 2010, Douglas revealed he had been diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer, a disclosure that shocked fans and the industry alike. The diagnosis came after months of worsening symptoms that had initially gone undetected. His openness about the illness and the grueling radiation and chemotherapy treatments that followed made headlines worldwide. The battle was not just a physical one, it was also emotional, as Douglas navigated fears about his mortality and the future of his career. In interviews, he credited his wife, actress Catherine Zeta-Jones, and his children with giving him the strength to endure the ordeal. Yet, even during this period, controversy found its way into the narrative. Shortly after revealing his diagnosis, Douglas sparked a media storm when he commented in an interview that his cancer had been caused by HPV, transmitted through oral sex. The statement was widely reported, dissected, and sensationalized, sparking debates about sexual health, celebrity oversharing, and medical accuracy. While some praised his candor for raising awareness, others criticized the intimate nature of the revelation and its impact on public perception. Another deeply painful chapter for Douglas came through his relationship with his son, Cameron Douglas. Cameron struggled with substance abuse for years and in 2010 was sentenced to a lengthy prison term on drug-related charges. The legal battle and its aftermath played out publicly, with Michael expressing both heartbreak and steadfast support for his son. He was vocal about the failures of the U.S. prison system, particularly regarding rehabilitation for nonviolent offenders, and used his platform to advocate for reform. Still, the ordeal took a heavy emotional toll, forcing Douglas to confront the complexities of parenting in the public eye. Throughout these crises, Douglas also weathered the challenges that come with being married to another high-profile actor. Catherine Zeta-Jones's own struggles with bipolar II disorder became public in the early 2010s, and the couple temporarily separated in 2013. The pressures of managing personal health, a blended family, and two demanding careers led to speculation about the stability of their marriage. Ultimately, they reconciled, but not before enduring another wave of intense tabloid scrutiny. What made Michael Douglas's crises and controversies so compelling, and at times so invasive, was the way they intertwined with his on-screen persona. For decades, he had played men under pressure, men caught between desire, ambition, and morality. In real life, he too faced moments when choices were messy, outcomes uncertain, and reputations fragile. And yet, through health battles, family struggles, and public criticism, Douglas showed a remarkable capacity for endurance. These trials would, in many ways, set the stage for the next chapter of his career, a period of rebirth, reinvention, and a return to the screen that reminded audiences why he had become an icon in the first place. For Michael Douglas, the years following his most public crises marked not a retreat from the limelight, but a remarkable resurgence that underscored his resilience, adaptability, and enduring talent. His comeback was not a single triumphant moment, but a series of deliberate choices, both personal and professional, that slowly rebuilt his health, reputation, and career momentum. The turning point came in the aftermath of his cancer treatment in 2010-2011. After months of debilitating therapy, Douglas emerged physically diminished but spiritually determined. His recovery was hard-won. It required not only medical triumph, but a complete recalibration of lifestyle and priorities. In interviews, he described how the illness stripped away the noise of Hollywood and refocused his attention on what truly mattered: family, meaningful work, and purposeful living. This new clarity became a guiding principle in his second act. His comeback to the screen was swift but carefully curated. In 2013, Douglas delivered a career-defining performance in HBO's Behind the Candelabra, portraying the flamboyant pianist Liberace opposite Matt Damon. The role was a daring departure from the alpha male archetypes that had long defined his career. Here, Douglas embraced vulnerability, theatricality, and emotional nuance, earning widespread acclaim. The performance won him an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe, and a Screen Actors Guild Award, cementing his reputation as a fearless actor willing to take risks even late in his career. That same year, his reconciliation with Catherine Zeta-Jones became public, signaling stability in his personal life. The couple's decision to work through their challenges, rather than permanently part ways, was seen by many as emblematic of Douglas's broader capacity for perseverance. It was a period in which he seemed more grounded, less reactive, and more willing to be candid about past mistakes and lessons learned. Douglas's resurgence wasn't limited to prestige television. He began exploring new genres and audiences. In 2015, he stepped into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Dr. Hank Pym in Ant-Man, a role that introduced him to a younger generation of moviegoers. The film's success and his reprisal of the role in Ant-Man and the Wasp 2018 and Avengers Endgame 2019 proved that Douglas could thrive in blockbuster territory as well as in award season fare. For an actor whose prime had been in the pre-superhero era of cinema, it was a savvy and unexpected career move that expanded his cultural relevance. On the small screen, Douglas continued to reinvent himself. In 2018, he starred in Netflix's The Kominsky Method, a sharp, heartfelt comedy drama about aging, friendship, and the absurdities of the acting profession. Playing Sandy Kominsky, a once famous actor turned acting coach, Douglas delivered a performance rich with humor, pathos, and self-awareness. The role earned him a Golden Globe Award and multiple Emmy nominations, proving that his comedic timing was as sharp as his dramatic chops. More importantly, The Kominsky Method felt almost autobiographical at times, a meta-reflection of his own career's peaks, valleys, and reinventions. Beyond acting, Douglas used his platform to engage in advocacy and philanthropy. He became more outspoken about cancer awareness, prison reform, inspired by his son Cameron's experiences, and humanitarian issues. His work with the United Nations as a messenger of peace, focusing on nuclear disarmament, further distinguished him as a figure whose influence extended beyond Hollywood. What made this comeback extraordinary was the authenticity with which Douglas navigated it. He did not try to erase the crises that had preceded it. Instead, he incorporated them into his public narrative. He acknowledged his health struggles, admitted to personal failings, and spoke openly about the challenges of sustaining a career and marriage under relentless public scrutiny. This candor endeared him to audiences who had watched him for decades, not as an untouchable star, but as a human being who had fallen, recovered, and evolved. By the late 2010s and into the 2020s, Michael Douglas had achieved something rare in Hollywood, a second golden era. He was not simply a relic of the past, surviving on nostalgia. He was an active, vital creative force whose work continued to win critical and commercial success. His career's trajectory, from leading man of high-stakes thrillers to acclaimed character actor, from Oscar-winning producer to Emmy-winning television star, stood as proof that reinvention was not just possible, but powerful. The comeback of Michael Douglas is in essence a story about embracing change. It's about weathering storms without losing sight of one's core identity, about knowing when to adapt and when to stand firm, and about finding renewed purpose after the world assumes you've had your final bow. Through grit, craft, and a willingness to confront life's hardships with honesty, Douglas transformed his post-crisis years into one of the most inspiring chapters of his long and storied career. Michael Douglas's legacy is built on a rare combination of versatility, longevity, and the ability to shape cultural narratives both in front of and behind the camera. Over the course of more than 5 decades, he has embodied an extraordinary range of characters, from the morally conflicted corporate raider Gordon Gekko in Wall Street to the deeply human Sandy Kaminsky. Each role not only reflected the era in which it was made, but also helped define how audiences viewed masculinity, ambition, and vulnerability on screen. One of Douglas's most enduring contributions lies in his talent for selecting projects that speak to the zeitgeist. As an actor, he consistently gravitated towards stories that explored ambition, greed, power, and moral complexity. Films like Wall Street, Fatal Attraction, and The Game became cultural touchstones that continue to be discussed and studied decades later. As a producer, he was equally impactful. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which he championed into existence, became a cinematic milestone, winning the Big Five Academy Awards and influencing generations of filmmakers. This dual identity, as both artist and dealmaker, expanded the possibilities for Hollywood actors, demonstrating that a performer could also wield significant creative and business influence. Douglas's influence also extends to redefining the trajectory of an acting career. Many stars fade as they age, but Douglas proved that reinvention could be a source of strength. His seamless transition from leading man in high-stakes dramas to nuanced character actor in television and ensemble films has inspired countless performers to resist typecasting and embrace longevity through adaptability. His work in Behind the Candelabra and the Kaminsky Method showed that even late in life, an actor could take on fresh, challenging material and deliver some of their most acclaimed performances. On a broader level, Douglas helped bridge the gap between the old Hollywood studio system and the more fluid, independent-driven industry of today. In the 1970s and 1980s, his willingness to work with both major studios and independent producers allowed him to navigate a changing marketplace, while setting a precedent for modern actors who balance blockbuster roles with smaller, prestige projects. His personal advocacy has also become part of his legacy. Douglas's openness about his cancer battle encouraged public awareness and early detection efforts, while his work as a United Nations messenger of peace elevated his profile beyond entertainment. He has used his platform to address nuclear disarmament, human rights, and prison reform, blending celebrity influence with meaningful activism. In this way, he helped redefine what it means to be a socially engaged Hollywood figure. The impact of his persona, the mix of charm, intelligence, and a hint of danger, has shaped how certain archetypes are cast and written. The anti-hero businessman in modern cinema owes much to Douglas's portrayal of Gordon Gekko, just as romantic thrillers of the late 20th century often drew from the sexual tension and psychological complexity he brought to films like Basic Instinct and Fatal Attraction. His ability to humanize characters who might otherwise be seen as irredeemable has left an indelible mark on screenwriting and performance styles. Moreover, Douglas's legacy is deeply intertwined with his family heritage. As the son of Kirk Douglas, he carried forward the weight of a Hollywood dynasty, but managed to carve out a distinct identity, proving that he was not simply living in his father's shadow. His career has shown that legacy in Hollywood is not inherited. It is built, one project and one choice at a time. In turn, his success has inspired a new generation of actors with famous last names to pursue their own unique artistic paths. Today, Michael Douglas stands as a figure who embodies the arc of modern Hollywood, the glamour of its golden age, the grit of its more cynical decades, and the innovation of its present. His influence can be traced in the careers of actors who blend commercial appeal with artistic risk, in producers who seek out bold and socially resonant stories, and in activists who use their public platform for global good. Ultimately, Douglas's legacy is not just in the awards he has won or the box office figures he has generated. It is in the way his work continues to resonate, in the risks he took that others might have avoided, and in the authenticity with which he has lived his public and private life. His career is a testament to the belief that reinvention is not the exception but the essence of longevity, and that true influence is measured not by a single era of success, but by the ability to shape culture across generations. For all his success, acclaim, and influence, Michael Douglas's life has been touched by profound, personal sorrow, moments that pierced through the glamour of Hollywood and reminded the world of his humanity. Among these, perhaps the deepest pain has come from the intersection of family, health, and loss, events that no amount of fame or fortune could shield him from. One of the most public and painful challenges was his eldest son Cameron's long and highly publicized struggle with substance abuse and legal troubles. Watching Cameron spiral into addiction and ultimately serve years in federal prison for drug-related charges was a wound that cut deeply into Douglas's identity as a father. He spoke openly about the guilt and helplessness he felt, acknowledging the mistakes he made while balancing an intense career and the demands of parenthood. The court proceedings and media scrutiny turned a private family tragedy into a public spectacle, amplifying the emotional toll and forcing Douglas to navigate his grief under the world's gaze. Yet even before Cameron's struggles, Douglas had experienced the kind of loss that reshapes a person. The death of his father, Kirk Douglas, in 2020 at the age of 103, though expected given his age, was the closing of a monumental chapter in Michael's life. Their relationship had been complex, marked by admiration, occasional tension, and deep familial pride, but Kirk's passing left a void that no achievement could fill. Michael often described how much of his own professional discipline and personal resilience had been shaped by his father's example, and losing that presence, even after a long life well lived, was a sorrow that lingered quietly beneath his public composure. His own battle with stage 4 throat cancer in 2010 added another layer to his grief, not only for the toll it took on his body and career, but for the strain it placed on his loved ones. Facing mortality forced Douglas to reckon with the fragility of life and the possibility of leaving his children without a father. The months of aggressive treatment, the physical transformation, and the uncertainty of recovery became a crucible in which sorrow and hope coexisted. Though he survived and eventually went into remission, the shadow of that illness remains a reminder of how close he came to losing everything. Perhaps the most enduring sorrow is the way these experiences converged: the fear of losing family, the pain of seeing a child suffer, the inevitability of saying goodbye to a parent, and the confrontation with one's own mortality. Douglas, in interviews, has often spoken about how these trials stripped away the illusions of control and forced him to appreciate life in its raw, unvarnished form. They also deepened his empathy, particularly toward those who lived through their own private tragedies, without the resources or support he was fortunate to have. In the end, Michael Douglas's greatest sorrow is inseparable from his greatest love, his family. It is the flip side of the legacy he has built, the cost of living a life so full, so public, and so deeply intertwined with those he cares about most. And while these sorrows have left scars, they have also given his later performances an authenticity and emotional depth that could only come from lived experience, turning pain into art in a way that continues to move audiences around the world.